Susie, I want to just ask you, because I know you've been doing groups in a slightly different situation than in the NHS. Do you want to share a little bit about what that's looked like for you and what you've learned from it that you think could be valuable to everyone else?
Yeah, sure. So I started doing groups mainly in corporate settings. So I work a lot with companies around the UK. And I'd seen so much success in just getting a group of people, 15 people around a table and just getting them to open up. So whether it was about their sleep or their, maybe they go home and it's wine o'clock and they're opening a bottle of wine and, swallowing 2 packets of biscuits just to cope with life. And then they're up till 12:30 at night on YouTube, in bed, scrolling through the iPad. And that is the reality for a lot of people who live in the UK, as you guys probably know. And that isn't solved by just telling people, well, you need to get 8 hours sleep and, you need to stop eating sugar. We know that doesn't work. So having seen that success, I approached my local hospital where all my kids were born, which is Wythenshawe Hospital. And I asked if I could come and do a workshop with some of the staff there, which I did earlier this year. So that was around 20 people. Unfortunately, there were quite a few people who couldn't make it because they were off with stress-related symptoms, which is very telling. And I made it very, very interactive. So not only tackling things like food and movement and sleep, but also I talked about connection. We talked about getting out in nature. We talked about getting in a state of flow and finding some time for themselves in their ridiculously busy day to do 5 minutes of whatever it was that lit them up. So for one person, it was embroidery. Another person, it was playing the guitar. I did breathing exercise. I showed them mindfulness exercises. It was challenging because their beepers were going off. It was in the middle of the day. But over the course of the 4 weeks, and it was only 1 hour a week, over 4 weeks, there was the most huge transformations. And I actually measured these. So I gave them, they filled out a form beforehand. So it was a medical symptoms questionnaire. And also the Promise 10 form, which tracked things like how often they'd felt anxious in the previous week. And then measured again after 4 weeks. And just the most remarkable transformation. So things like 65% reduction in medical symptoms across the whole board. But more than that for me was the hope. And you can see it I made a very short video, which perhaps you can put a link to. And you can see the hope on their faces because they felt empowered. And for the first time, they felt that they didn't have to continue in that vein of being overstressed and all the rest of it. And they then went away and spread that to their families and to other people in their departments.